Hello, students. My name is Catherine Dumas. Welcome to LIS 488 Technology for Information Professionals. I do have overview videos for every module, but I wanted to just introduce myself and let you get a little background about who I am. So I'm an assistant professor here at SLIS. I have a PhD in informatics from the University at Albany, the State University of New York. And my research involved looking at electronic petitioning behavior and We the People, which is Obama's electronic petitioning platform for the US. And I just wanted to see if I could find some examples of online mobilized collective action. So I use data mining techniques to work with the e-petitioning data. And thankfully, I did find evidence. I have 3 different case studies. But if you want to learn more about that, just email me. I do have some journal articles out there, and I'm actually working right now to publish more from my dissertation. I also have a master's degree in information science, so I was in your shoes at one point that doing my master's in information or library science, and that was also at University of Albany in New York. And I do have a bachelor's in English from the College of St. Rose. So I'm a total technology geek. I've recently got really interested in doing research with virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and I love hackathons and maker spaces. 2 cool things. I'm actually going to MIT. There's a virtual reality hackathon, and that's going to be next week, a couple weeks, I think. And I'm going to be a mentor, so that's going to be cool. Another cool thing about maker spaces that we're actually COSIS, the College of Organizational and Information, whatever it stands for, which is our school where SLIS is housed, and we are going to have a makerspace. They've got room for it, and they're in the process of figuring out what we're going to have in there. I know they're talking about maybe some robotics, and I don't know. I think it would be cool to have a bunch of different really, really cool things to play around with. Button makers, I love those, and I do yoga. I do it pretty much every day. I love to ski downhill, and I travel. I travel a lot. Being a PhD student and now assistant professor in academia, I go to 2 or 3 major conferences a year. One is ACIST, and last year it was in Australia, and next year I think it's going to be in Pittsburgh. I have another conference that I go to. It's a digital government and society. It's where I go there every year. That's in the summer. And last year, I did not go last year, but last year it was in Dubai, and then next year it's going to be in Seoul, South Korea. My last name is French, and it is pronounced Dumas. You don't pronounce that S in French when there's a vowel. And I do take pictures of my food and post on social media. And that's a typical dinner. And this, I'm holding up my new calendar for the 2020. It's Yoga Kittens, which is really cool. And each one has the kitten in a different pose. So I've worked at a number of different places over the years, and while I was in grad school, doing my master's, I worked at Wounded Bird Records, and I was VP of operations there, and I basically just learned how to do everything. I wasn't very technical, but I learned how to work with the databases. I learned how to work with the web development. Just kind of learned. And I did actually, when I was in my master's program, I did take the technology track. So at the same time I was learning, I was actually being able to apply what I was learning. And I did an internship at NYLA, which is the New York Library Association. That was cool. I kind of did the same thing where I just went in and just kind of did whatever databases. I did do databases. I handled different kind of technologies that they were working with. I just had to learn it, and that was a very cool experience. And then finally, I worked at Kitware, which is a software development company, and they do a lot of open source software. And that was really cool. That was for a summer, and that's where I really learned how to do, like, I learned Python there. I learned a lot of things there because you're just kind of doing. And I worked side by side with software developers, and I learned that they don't know everything and that they Google everything. So that was a really cool thing to understand that people don't just know how to, like, when they're writing code, they don't know that they have to Google. I mean, sure, if they're doing something over and over, but yeah, it was a pretty cool. So I want that to stick with you as we work through the different technologies that we're going to be covering in 488. That Google is your friend, and that's a skill. When I was I was a research assistant at the Human Computer Interaction Lab, and that was when I was doing my master's. And I got to work with subjects, and we did, like, usability studies, and one project was a spoken language interface study, and that was really cool. And I'm happy to be getting back into that because we have a usability lab here, and I want to get into doing some VR usability stuff. Hopefully, I've already worked a little bit with MIT and researchers over there, so I want to get that going. I also taught for 5.5 years while I was doing my PhD in the informatics undergraduate department at U Albany. So it was kind of just more like technology focused. And I was a researcher for a project petition at U Albany. And that's where I worked with a number of different faculty and also students, and computer science students, master's students, other PhDs. And we all kind of just worked with the petitioning data and looked for different research questions. And that's how my dissertation came about. I got my research questions, and I was able to have this team of people to work with. So that was really great. So my research interest, this stemming from my dissertation, I'm looking at online collective action, digital activism, e-petitioning behavior, also analyzing social networks, social media, and now I'm getting back into usability, but now I'm looking at the different realities, the virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. My current research project, we have a team called XR at Simmons, and we're just focused on the usability of these different XR technologies. And we do have a Twitter page, so follow us. And I'm also the faculty advisor for the UXPA, which student group here at SLIS, which is the User Experience Professional Association. So we're looking for board members. So if you're interested in getting involved, the president, Brandon Belmonte, will be sending out emails as soon as we get settled into the semester, see if you're interested. And I mentioned earlier that I were working with MIT researchers. We did this usability study of this LUI, which is a large interface, and the technology is gesture technology, if you're familiar with like Leap Motion. So it's an application that they were working on at the Media Lab at MIT, and we did usability studies with students here, and we actually published a poster at ACES, and we're continuing to work together. So there's exciting opportunities there if you're interested in doing some work like that. And if I could get grants and money, that would be great because I could even pay you. So we also I have a collaboration with the National University of Ireland at Galway, and we're looking at VR and e-participation in government. And I have a colleague that comes over here. I'll probably go to Galway at some point for a trip, and yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing. It's super exciting. And if you see over here, that's me. This is our director, Sanda Erdeles, the director of SLIS, which you probably meet, and this is one of our students. We're playing around, but it's pretty cool. And I guess that's it. I just wanted to briefly let you know who I am, and I'm looking very much forward to working with all of you this semester. And I know you're going to be learning a lot of different technologies, but and it might get a little frustrating, but we will work through it together. Okay? So I'm looking forward to seeing you all online.